Let's begin with something you rarely dare to admit. This thing you call your life. You didn't choose most of it. Not really. You inherited a rhythm that was already playing long before you learned how to move. You stepped into a story already in progress and pretended you understood the plot. Think about it. You wake up each day as if following a script someone slipped under your door. Work, respond, apologize, hurry. Act as if everything matters terribly, desperately, urgently. You walk around with that serious look on your face, that "I've got this under control" expression. But deep down you know something feels misplaced, slightly misaligned, like a picture frame that's just a few degrees off. And if you're honest, brutally honest, you can feel that quiet disturbance behind your achievements, a kind of existential static that won't go away, a sense that the performance you've been giving your entire life isn't truly yours. There's that moment right before sleep, that strange heaviness that visits you the second you stop distracting yourself, the fleeting whisper that says, something isn't right here, something isn't adding up. You've learned to silence it, to drown it under tasks, noise, goals, but still, it returns. Because it's part of you, the forgotten part you buried under being responsible. And maybe you've wondered, what if all this seriousness, all this pressure, all these rules weren't actually necessary? What if life was never meant to be an exam, a ladder, a ceremony of suffering, but something else entirely? What if they tricked you into believing that life is a straight road, when in truth it's a labyrinth, and you were meant to explore it, not conquer it? Since childhood, you were handed a list of instructions carved by invisible hands. Be polite, be good, be still. Don't ask too many questions. Don't laugh too loudly. Don't dream too wildly. Study hard, perform well, earn your place, prove your worth, follow the sequence, stay in line. Nobody wrote these rules down, but you learned them anyway. You absorbed them like air. And over time, those rules created a person who looks a lot like you, but isn't entirely you. A version polished for approval, modified to avoid judgment, adjusted to fit into small spaces. But the real you, that strange, brilliant, curious, chaotic spark, got pushed deeper and deeper down until you could barely hear its voice. And now, here you are, running, striving, grinding, trying so hard to be someone that you've forgotten who you were before you became somebody. You've filled your life with responsibilities that feel like chains disguised as trophies. You've built a reputation that feels too heavy to carry. You've created a life that looks good in the storybook, but feels strangely hollow when no one is watching. And every now and then, just for a second, you imagine what it would feel like if the whole structure collapsed, if the play fell apart, if everything you're holding together finally snapped, and you were forced to start from zero. You don't wish for the destruction, you wish for the rebirth, for the chance to stop pretending and simply exist. And here is the unsettling truth. Everyone else feels it too. Everyone is pretending they know what they're doing. Everyone is performing certainty while trembling inside. Some people improvise with fear, others improvise with grace. But all of us, every single one, are improvising. No one is as put together as they pretend. No one is walking confidently through the script. Everyone is stumbling through the fog, hoping no one notices. But the world is rigged to hide this fact. We're encouraged to compete with illusions, to compare our messy reality to the polished stories others present. We chase shadows. We envy masks. We measure ourselves against carefully curated fragments of people who are just as lost as we are. And this comparison, this silent war you fight with ghosts, creates the deepest suffering. You forget you're playing a game and begin to think you're failing at life. But you can't fail at a game that has no scoreboard. There is no referee, No audience, no final exam, only experiences and the meaning you give them. Yet here's the catch. When you finally understand this, when you stop performing seriousness and start living from presence, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the system, dangerous to expectations, dangerous to the roles others want you to fill. Because suddenly, you don't fit anymore. You don't bend, you don't shrink, you don't contort yourself to please anyone. Your freedom becomes a mirror that reflects the prison others built for themselves, and people don't like being reminded of their confinement. They will call you immature, unrealistic, naive, irresponsible, because your liberation threatens their structure. Your authenticity destabilizes their illusion of control. But here is the deeper truth. Adulthood was never meant to be the burial of wonder. Responsibility was never meant to be a synonym for suffocation. Maturity was never meant to kill joy. You are not here to march. You are here to dance. The moment you choose to live without needing permission, life starts to feel less like a burden and more like a playground. And then something extraordinary happens. The world doesn't change. You change. You stop seeing enemies and start seeing roles. You stop seeing failures and start seeing chapters. You stop seeing obstacles and start seeing stages. You become the author instead of the actor. And you start to realize the weight you carried your entire life was mostly imaginary. But of course, reaching this point requires crossing a threshold. And thresholds are always uncomfortable. You must let pieces of yourself die. The obedient parts, the fearful parts, the parts that crave applause, the parts that think life is only meaningful if others approve of how you're living it. This death feels like stepping toward an abyss. But here is the secret. There is no abyss. There is only air. And once you jump, you discover that you don't fall. You float. You begin to act without needing certainty. You begin to love without needing guarantees. You begin to create without needing validation. You begin to live without asking for explanations. It feels like waking from a long, exhausting dream, like realizing you spent years pretending the ground beneath you was solid, when in truth the whole world was meant to be fluid. And then, unexpectedly, you laugh. Not out of mockery, not out of nervousness, but a deep, ancient laugh that erupts from the core, a laugh that recognizes the absurdity of your own suffering. Because you finally understand what you called a tragedy was just a temporary scene. What you called a mistake was just a transition. What you called your life was just a draft, and you're free to revise it. This freedom scares people. It even scares you at first. You want to hold on to it, but at the same time, you fear losing the comfort of your old cages. And then a more subtle trap appears. You start living freely, but you secretly wait for applause. You wait for someone to say, "Wow, you're so authentic. Good job." But if your authenticity depends on recognition, you're not free yet. You're still performing, still acting, still hoping someone validates your awakening. The real freedom begins when you no longer need witnesses. But here's where things get even deeper. What if the thoughts in your mind, the strict voices, the judgments, the constant striving, aren't actually yours? What if they are echoes? Echoes of childhood, echoes of culture, echoes of expectations passed down unconsciously, echoes that shaped your identity before you even realized you were wearing a mask. You think you know yourself, but often you only know your conditioning. And the next level of life is the slow, deliberate process of unlearning everything you were trained to believe. Unlearning the reflex to seek approval, unlearning the instinct to shrink, unlearning the habit of calling fear responsibility, unlearning the belief that you must earn your worth. It is a brutal inner game, a game played in silence, in the shadows, where no one claps, where no one cheers, where no one guides you. And when you face yourself without masks, you will encounter chaos, doubt, confusion, emptiness. But if you stay, if you don't run, the chaos transforms into clarity. The doubt transforms into curiosity. The emptiness transforms into spaciousness. And then you discover a strange new sensation, a lightness you haven't felt since childhood, a freedom that asks nothing, demands nothing, proves nothing. Your authenticity becomes effortless. It does not need to explain itself. It does not need to defend itself. It simply expresses. And everything inauthentic begins to collapse around it. Relationships, habits, identities, expectations, not as punishment, but as purification. Because when you live without a mask, you become a quiet revolution, a reminder to others of what they've forgotten, a doorway they fear to open. And at this point, the game becomes spiritual, not religious, not ideological, but spiritual in the sense that you begin to sense the depth beneath the surface of everything. You realize life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced, not mastered, but danced. You understand that meaning isn't something you find. It's something you create in real time. You start to see every moment, every laughter, every tear, every mistake, every triumph as part of an intricate unfolding that doesn't need your judgment to be beautiful. And then you ask yourself a dangerous question. How do I want to play from now on? Because ultimately, life bends to the way you choose to move through it. It becomes rigid if you approach it with rigidity. It becomes a battlefield if you walk into it armed. It becomes a labyrinth if you fear getting lost. It becomes a playground if you remember how to play. So the question is not what life expects from you. The question is what you expect from life. Do you want to continue performing seriousness, carrying the weight of invisible expectations, or do you want to dance through this existence the way you were meant to, with curiosity, wonder, and unapologetic presence? Because the moment you choose the latter, the entire world shifts, not because it changed, but because you did. You stop waiting for permission. You stop seeking applause. You stop fearing uncertainty. You stop shrinking to fit into the spaces that were never meant for you. And you become dangerously free. The kind of free that cannot be manipulated. The kind of free that cannot be shamed. The kind of free that cannot be controlled. The kind of free that remembers the truth. Life is not about winning. Life is not about proving. Life is not about pleasing. Life is not about performing. Life is about playing, with awareness, with courage, with presence. So ask yourself, not as the character you've been acting, but as the soul beneath the mask, how will you play from now on? Because the moment you choose your answer, your entire reality begins to rearrange itself around the person you're finally willing to become. But before you walk away thinking you've understood the message, pause for a moment. Because there's another layer, one most people never reach, not because it's hidden, but because it's terrifyingly simple. The truth is this: you were never meant to be a finished product. The world trains you to chase completion, the perfect job, the perfect relationship, the perfect identity. As if life were a sculpture you were responsible for chiseling until nothing unnecessary remains. But you are not a sculpture. You are the sculptor and the stone, ever changing, ever becoming. The pressure you feel to figure yourself out comes from the illusion that you can one day be complete. But completion is a myth. Life is not a destination, it is a perpetual unfolding. You don't need to know who you'll be tomorrow. You don't need to cling to who you were yesterday. You only need to inhabit the moment fully and let each moment shape the next. But that is where most people get stuck. They fear the unknown so deeply that they clutch the known, even when it hurts. They grip old stories, outdated beliefs, brittle identities, because letting go feels like death. Yet the irony is poetic. You must allow parts of yourself to die for your life to stay alive. This is the paradox at the heart of human growth. The self you protect becomes the cage you cannot escape. But once you see the bars, once you recognize the confinement, the prison begins to lose its power. Not because the bars disappear, but because you stop believing they are locked. You start experimenting with rebellion, small at first. A boundary you once feared to express, a dream you once dismissed as childish, a moment of rest you once punished yourself for needing. And each small act of defiance reclaims a piece of your soul. Because freedom is not a single leap. It is 1,000 micro movements away from everything that suffocates you and toward everything that awakens you. And as you shift, as you stop betraying yourself for acceptance, as you stop contorting yourself for approval, something extraordinary happens. Life begins to respond. Opportunities appear that were invisible before. People enter your life whose presence feels like oxygen. Ideas emerge that feel electric, alive, unmistakably yours. Not because the world changed, but because you finally stepped into alignment with the current of your own life. And in this alignment, you discover one of the most revolutionary truths. You were never meant to live a life that impresses others. You were meant to live a life that inspires you, a life that feels honest, a life that feels alive, a life that feels like it belongs to you, even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. And when you finally reach that point, when your choices reflect your essence instead of your fears, something subtle yet powerful awakens within you, a calm confidence that doesn't need to shout. This confidence doesn't come from knowing the answers. It comes from trusting yourself enough to face the questions. It comes from realizing that uncertainty is not the enemy. It is the raw material of possibility. It comes from understanding that your life expands or contracts in direct proportion to your willingness to step into the unknown. So ask yourself, not as an exercise, but as a genuine turning point, what would your life look like if you stopped negotiating with your own truth? What would change if you stopped watering yourself down to be digestible? Who would you become if you gave your soul permission to take up space? You don't need to answer right away. In fact, don't answer too quickly. Let the question echo. Let it stir the deeper parts of you that have been waiting for an invitation to speak. Because the moment you stop living as an echo and start living as your own voice, your entire existence begins to shift. Not because the world is different, but because you finally are.